Congressman Courtney, thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name's John Fussell. I'm with the Tree of Life Educational Fund out of Old Lyme, Connecticut. I want to push you on the House Bill 1697, the Israel Anti-Boycott Act. I really think that it's very disappointing that you were a co-sponsor of that legislation, and I would like to see you join Senator Gillibrand in withdrawing your co-sponsorship of that. I understand that we just got news that Representative Adam Smith from Washington State has withdrawn his support for the legislation. The legislation is flawed in many, many ways, and as you point out, it's ambiguous. J.J. Goldberg, an editor-in-chief of The Forward, a large Jewish newspaper, it says it's so ambiguous that a federal judge could easily end up litigating. That a federal judge could end up prosecuting, rather, a college kid wearing an anti-boycott shirt. Now, I know that there's been some analysis of this bill, and there's a view of it that it only deals with commercial speech. But I would point out to you that one of the problems is that in expanding the Export Administration Act, it would prohibit, quote, U.S. persons, unquote, from complying with unsanctioned boycotts imposed by a foreign country. I'm a U.S. person, right? And if it reaches to individuals who may decide to endorse a UN-sanctioned boycott or a boycott sanctioned by the European Union, then we come within the scope of that legislation. It's wrong. It is a real impediment. It's a real attack on our First Amendment rights, and you really ought to withdraw your support for it. There's another very serious problem with the legislation, in that it extends boycott protections to Israel's, or quote, or territories under its control, unquote. Well, the territories under its control are the West Bank and Gaza. Now, we know that founders of the State of Israel have long, looked forward to the idea of annexing all of the West Bank, right? And this statute, as written, inches our U.S. policy in the direction of supporting that view, because now it would also criminalize boycotts that were extended to the illegal settlements. These settlements are unlawful under international law. And to your point about, South Africa, and I was glad to hear you mention that. I was one of the founders of the Connecticut Anti-Apartheid Committee back in 1978, and we worked very hard with the legislation, and we were very, very happy with your support and Bill Curry's support and other support that we got, Bill Dyson's support on that bill. But Archbishop Desmond Tutu from South Africa, he has said that the conditions that they faced in South Africa pale in comparison to what is faced by the Palestinian people today. And I have been to Palestine. I've been to Palestine 4 times. I'm leaving again at the end of this month with a labor delegation to meet with Palestinian trade union leaders. And I would invite you to join us. I know you've been to the West Bank once before, but I would invite you to join us on one of our trips, one of our delegations, because there's no way that you can stand here and tell me that the conditions in South Africa were worse than what the Palestinians are facing today. This legislation criminalizes our right to boycott in a variety of different ways, even if it's limited to commercial. Why are we passing a law that is supporting Israel's right to continue these policies without being criticized, without being pressured to change these policies? These policies have ruined a generation and imprisoned a generation of people. And it's continuing. And it's not going to stop until here in the U.S., our Congress stops standing up and applauding Netanyahu 40 times when he shows up in Congress, and we start putting pressure on the State of Israel. The Israeli people need our support in that fashion, as do the Palestinians. Too many innocent Israelis and too many innocent Palestinians are dying as a result of U.S. policy. We have to stop this being uncritically supportive of the state of Israel. I disagree with you when you say that Netanyahu is different than the state of Israel. Whether it was the Likud party or whether it's the Labor Party, the policies that they are pursuing are consistent. Some more drastic than others, but they're consistent. And that's not going to change until we here in the United States stand up and say, change. And I would ask you again, please, please withdraw your support from that act. Thank you.
My name is Linda, and I live in Clinton, and I want to thank you for coming and allowing us to speak. I do have a question, but before I get to it, I just want to say that my husband and I earlier took a trip to Mount Rushmore this year. And one of the reasons we went there is because we felt the need to be inspired by who we are as Americans. And we've been very unhappy since January 20th, to say the least. But what I've learned here tonight by coming here, listening to you and listening to these marvelous people, I can be inspired right here by listening to a group of people who care about each other, who care about doing the right thing, not only in this country, but internationally. I'm leaving here more educated and more inspired, so I want to thank you all. And I get emotional about it because we all love America. But my less important question, I don't say less important, but my question has to do with, again, it has to do with healthcare, it has to do with healthcare costs, and I don't know if this is the right forum. My question is, how influential or how much assistance does the Connecticut Congressional Delegation give to the state of Connecticut around the healthcare issues, financial issues? So, full disclosure, I sit on the board of a Connecticut hospital, and I am well aware that our state government is hugely underfunding Medicaid costs. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that those unfunded costs are being transferred to the private payer, the private insurers. And I also know that we're leaving money on the table because of the huge budget shortfalls. Is there anything that the Connecticut delegation can do to help our state solve this problem? Because there's money on the table.
So, well, first of all, the Connecticut Hospital Association is frequent flyers in DC, and meet with our actually as a group, because it's more efficient to just get us all, or at least staff all together and talk about it. And certainly the issues of reimbursements and the tax on hospitals has been a frequent topic that's there. The only thing I would say, when the Affordable Care Act passed, the Medicaid expansion, which we